Okay, so let's start. Yeah. So first of all, let me introduce to you to myself. My name is Pulkit, and I'm from India. Namaste. Right. So
Namaste.
yeah, namaste. Yeah. So I came to know about your channel because you commented something on another channel, right? And that's how I came to know about your channel. And I was when I started watching you, and like your energy was so amazing, and you were so energetic and enthusiastic about what you were talking about. Like there was an immediate connection. I could feel that connect immediately, right? Because I am by myself very energetic, and I like to, I like the people who are reflecting me in a way, right? So I thought that you are just a, like a reflection of my own self. So I thought that I got more interested about your entire journey, right? So let's get started. Like, can you tell me more about the how you started the
I've
journey?
also been focusing a lot on building businesses. Even though I've failed a lot of times, I've also done some successes as well. And then I started YouTube because I have an extremely important message that needs to be shared in terms of helping men to realize their potential. Because in order for us to create functional families, it really all rests on men understanding themselves, understanding success, understanding women, and how to lead so that we can create a better next generation. So I think that's basically my journey. I've been on YouTube now for 2.5 years. I saw one guy today who's been on YouTube. He was celebrating 19 months on YouTube, and that he had 160,000 subscribers. And I've been 30 months on YouTube with 3,000
Mm,
subscribers. So it's a very non-successful
it's quite
journey.
quite frustrating.
When you start comparing yourself to others, it becomes ridiculous.
Yes.
But
Well,
I have my own journey. But most importantly, it's all about family and figuring out how things work, really.
yeah. Having said that, like about how you can, affect the entire world if the fundamentals are correct. So what I believe personally is the fundamental which you build starts when you start your adolescent life, right? So the fundamentals, the building of that should start very early, right? Especially when someone is a student and basically a student, which I hope you hate that word, but still, yeah, people start when they are younger. So like how important it is to start early, and how can people approach this basically, and because it sounds very horrifying, like people working out 80 hours a week so that they can achieve their goals or they can reach their goals, right? At first, when you tell to someone, like people don't take it as seriously as we guys do, isn't it?
Right. So I even had one of my clients who've been with me for a long time, Luaista. He sent me a video yesterday of Alex Becker. He's a famous YouTuber as well, built many multiple successful businesses. And there he actually attacks or bashes on the 80-hour work week grinders. And he basically says that that's ridiculous. You should stop it. You're actually going to be more effective if you don't do that, etc., etc. And so I'm going to make a video as a response to that one on my views in terms of the 80 hours. But like you're saying, what are the fundamentals or the foundation that you need to set up? You need to have a vision, right? If you understand where you're going and what you're trying to achieve, like it's very difficult when you're young to decide what you're going to do specifically, and that's an individual choice for each of us because we have different skills and different uh, talents or aspects that we've been blessed with. But there are some similarities between all successful people that we need to adopt and that we need to establish in our lives. And I think one of them is an extreme work ethic. Um, and that's why I talk about 80-hour work week so much, is because if you want to achieve anything that's like massive, that's huge in the future, and you want to put your your mark on the world, and and your mark on history, it requires more than what normal people are putting out. And um, if you want to basically not be mediocre, you got to think long term, not just, I'm going to try and secure a job, or I'm going to study this and then hopefully in the future everything's going to work out. Hope is a very bad strategy. It's
It is.
right.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to take a understand the long-term picture, maybe 50 years into the future, 20 years into the future, 10 years into the future, and understand how you want to live. What
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
life do you want? How do you want it to look like? Because if you begin to look at that, then you're saying, okay, if I set up my work ethic and I begin to work and make work fun, then I
Mm,
can succeed at a much higher level than anyone else, because most people are not willing to do the work.
mm, definitely. Yes. And when we talk about work ethic as well, right, we were also discussing about that example of how Steve Jobs started when he was young. And when we go back to 1976, and you see that picture when you see the Apple headquarters in 1976. And then his own words are like, quote unquote, he said that we used to work 14 to 18 hours a day. And the main thing was they used to love it, right? They enjoyed working that much. And he also said that we could do that because we were young. So like it's fantastic. If you start early, you can begin raising the bar, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's interesting that he says that we could do that because we were young. Well, what is it that happens that causes someone to stop working as much? Like, is it because they were single that they were able to work that hard? Is it because they got jobs later? Like, what is it that, caused them to stop working? Because 14 to 18-hour days is not sustainable. You can't do that in the long run. But you can do 10. You can do 12. You can work 70 to 80-hour work weeks for the rest of your life, really, if you want to. And then you take a few weeks off because you can. And you can have some short days because you want to spend more time with your family once in a while. But I think it's ridiculous that people think about retiring at the age of 67 or 62 or whatever it is that people want to retire at. Or even people want to retire at 30 years old. I was at that moment, that's what I wanted to do when I was, in my 20s. I was like, I just want to retire at 20. Retire at 30 and then basically choose whatever it is that I want to do. But I want to be rich as well. The fact is, why would you ever want to retire if you love what you're doing? So that's really what the key aspect is figuring out what do you love so much doing in terms of helping other people. Because if you just, if it's like anything else that has nothing to do with other people, you're not going to love it in the long run, working 10 to 12 hours a day. It has to be something that improves the world, that improves people's lives, that basically increases the happiness of other people. Because if you can do that, then you're going to be able to love your life long term, even though you're 100 years old and still working that much, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes, definitely. And I also read a quote that the quote was like, if you have the right mindset, right, it's get way more easier, right? As you are just leaving behind the people who are not actually having the correct approach towards life, because your approach should be to serve others, isn't it?
Absolutely. Completely agree. And that's, I think it should probably start with that as well, like the aspect of the attitude, the mindset, the motivation, the desire. Because if you start out with, well, I don't really know what I want to do, And since I don't know what I want to do, then why would I put in 80-hour work weeks? Like, for what? So you got to understand the fundamental aspect of your own psychology in a sense, because we're all the same. And I mean, my channel is a men's channel, so we're all the same. We're all wired the same way to achieve certain things in our lives that we all desire. And there's a competition that is put there by nature to help us to evolve and to progress and become better than each other. That's part of it. We want to crush our competition so that we can be the best at what we do. That's a good thing. People think that competition is bad, but it's actually fantastic. It is, in many ways, competition is a team sport, because it's like the fact that someone else is trying to do the same thing as me improves both of ours like product or service, and it actually helps us to propel us forward faster in many ways. Where was I going to go with this? It's basically that what is the common denominator? What do we all want as men?
It's like reaching great heights. Like the main motivation is about, to be able to create an impact, right? We need to create the impact. Like we need to take it forward. We have that feeling. We need to expand, basically expand and grow. That's the main feeling we have as men, basically, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a good start. I think we really are looking for an emotion. Even though, men are rational, logical, supposedly, we're supposed to be masculine and all that stuff, but we still are searching for an improved emotion or an improved state of mind, or even an improved attitude, right? And that's basically our progression. Like, we want to be happy. All of us want to be happy, and that's the same thing for the other gender as well. But in order for us to be happy, there are certain things that make us men happy. And we got to know what those fundamentals are. And one of those are that we desire power. All of us desire power. No matter what religion you are, maybe your religion tells you that you shouldn't have power, and it's not good for you to seek power. But actually, if you're a good person, getting power is a positive thing. And power's definition is the ability to do. So if you're a good person, to have the ability to do is a fantastic thing, all right? The what's it called? The triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So if you have power, that means that good is actually triumphing over evil, right? So having and getting power is a fantastic thing if you do it for good. And if you have power, that means that you have confidence. And that's something that all men want. We all want confidence.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah. Priorities.
Right. And if you that's another thing. Having confidence is actually more of an emotion. It's an attitude. It's a mindset, right? And very interestingly, in order for us to become massively successful, you kind of have to have confidence and happiness in advance of your success. So it's part of the journey of getting towards success. So it's kind of like people say that you need money in order to make money. No, you don't really, but maybe you need a little bit of time and money in order to actually get it started, right? It's the exact same thing when it comes to confidence and power. You start out with a little bit of confidence. Maybe it's like so tiny. Maybe you need a team member or a coach, someone who believes in you more than yourself, to actually take the steps necessary to progress on your journey towards confidence and power, right? And then you, of course, got the worship aspect. We desire to be worshipped. We desire to have women in our lives who look up to us and who desire us. We desire for, to have kids. That's a part of us. We all want to become fathers for one weird, strange reason. That's just how nature designed it. And so if you understand the foundation, the fundamental aspect of male psychology, you can now understand why you're doing the 80-hour work weeks, and know that if you do put in the 80-hour work weeks and you never, ever, ever give up, you will achieve what it is that you're trying to achieve.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So there's one common doubt I would like to share with you that people have, while they put into perspective the 80-hour work week, is that, you need to balance all things in life, especially the four fundamental pillars, right? Which are health, wealth, relationship, and the spiritual path, which is the purpose of life. So
Okay.
how should we divide the time properly so that we could, excel in all these things? Because finally, when we look at this, we actually want to excel in these particular things. So like, how can we manage time perfectly and give the correct amount of time to the right thing?
Okay. Great question. Fantastic. Some people say that balance is overrated, and I tend to agree. So if you're gonna achieve something, it's okay to take things to the extreme to see if it works, right? But the whole key point is consistency. You want to be consistent, because if you're not consistent, you're gonna be up, down, up, down, up, down, and kind of like it doesn't work. You'd rather be steady and finish the race. And you don't have to do it slow either. You can do it fast as long as it's consistent. You just have to be consistent. So if we know that, then we can divide up to those four. I would say there's only three, because spiritual, it really has more to do with relationship, right? So if you want a relationship with God or with the universe, it's part of that aspect. I don't really like to put that in its own category, because it's so ephemeral, kind of vague. Like, how do you do that? So if we know that, then there's just three categories. That's it. You don't have to worry about anything else. If you're already healthy, you have
Mm,
good health, the only thing you need is sleep, exercise, and good nutrition, right? Sleep,
yeah,
you set aside that first. So you do your 8 hours of sleep. Don't mess with that one. It's not necessary. Get your
very
relaxation in,
important.
get your
Mm,
brain to function properly. And then you need your exercise in. It's fantastic to get your exercise in, but don't do 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day that many people do because they want to
mm,
look good for the ladies. That's a waste of time. Like, that's
okay.
if you want to do that, then get a personal trainer eventually, because you've got
Mm,
the cash to do it. don't
mm,
don't mess around doing that too much. And but I would say 30 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day is more than enough if you're doing intense workouts. And then
mm,
you so that doesn't take up much of your day, your health, other
yeah.
than other than getting in your meals for the day. If you just make sure that you
Mm,
stay away from the bad stuff, like the alcohol, the stimulants, the cigarettes, the partying, all of that crap that most people do, you'll have a
mm,
massive advantage compared to everyone else.
mm,
So that's one aspect to the nutrition aspect, or um and just improve your nutrition over time. Don't try to be perfect at nutrition and health. What matters is that you
yeah.
have a goal, that you're driven, and that you're positive. That's going to affect your mentality the most. And the way your hormones work is that, like, the more happy you are, more positive you are, the more things are working in your life, the more your body is functioning optimally. You can
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
function optimally even with bad nutrition, better than someone who
Mm,
has good nutrition and a bad attitude. It's kind of interesting how
mm,
that works.
yeah.
Um,
Very interesting it is.
but the third one was yeah, no, that's it. That's the health, right? That's the health
Yeah.
aspect. So that shouldn't take you more than a couple of hours a day, maybe 3 hours, right?
Mm, mm, mm,
2 hours a day is more than enough for you to actually be healthy. And then you've got relationships. Well, I tell guys that are young to stay the hell away from women. It's a ridiculously waste of time. It has nothing to do with your long-term success, because
mm,
because women are designed to be a reward for men. Okay?
definitely.
So if
Yeah.
you are receiving your rewards too early, there's a
Mm,
problem. You
mm,
can't do that. You're nothing. You're like, you haven't accomplished anything. Why are you getting yourself involved with women? Right? So
mm,
that's kind of the mentality that I teach, is just like, stay away, practice voluntary celibacy, practice semen retention, because if you do that, then you'll succeed and excel extremely a lot.
mm,
You begin to see, like, the people that are really successful are not very successful with women.
mm,
And it's actually that aspect of them that drove them towards becoming successful in their business very often because they were voluntary celibacy or involuntary celibate, some of them, and actually
Mm.
focused on their business because they didn't have time. They like women didn't give them anything because they couldn't attract the best women anyway. So a lot of guys that are attractive, they mess up and trip over that
Mm.
aspect and fall and stumble compared to guys that are maybe not as attractive as them because the difference is being distracted by women.
It's like blessing in disguise.
Blessing in disguise, absolutely. And
Mm.
the beautiful part is that if you actually understand female nature and you actually become successful and you have confidence and you have all those traits that women actually are after, you don't need
Mm.
to be handsome. It actually, women don't have that as a huge thing for them. What they are attracted to is power. They're attracted to confidence, and that's way more important than being handsome, if that makes sense. So if you take that away, what kind of relationships are you left with? Well, it's friends, and then it's family.
Mm.
Family is uh, is fantastic, but very often they have horrible mindsets, and they are not successful most of the time, and they basically will drag you down if you let them. So you got to be very careful about the family aspect. I'm not saying ditch your family forever. I'm
Mm.
saying instead of spending 8 hours a day with them, you should spend
Mm.
maybe 2 hours a week with them. That's kind of how I talk
Mm.
because it's not going to lead you to the land of your dreams. You are who you spend time with. So if you
Mm.
spend a lot of time with your family, you're going to end up like your family. If that's what you want, then that's where you need to stay. But if you want something different than what your family is experiencing, you need to move on. So that means
Mm.
2, 3, 4 absolute maximum hours a week is enough, right? So then you only have friends left. Okay, we haven't tackled the business aspect yet, but we're going to get there. Friends, you got to figure out, are these friends, it's the same thing as family, are these friends helping me to become successful? And if they're
Mm.
not helping me to become successful, they're dragging me down. So I need to choose my friends carefully. And what an interesting aspect of friends is, you have to decide and ask yourself the question, am I going to be friends with this person in 10 years from now? Are they
Mm.
actually even going to be in my life? Because
Mm.
all of us have tons of friends from our school days and from maybe
Mm.
even high school days. We don't even communicate with them at all. And yet we
Mm.
spend
That's true.
so much time with them,
That's true.
basically becoming like them. And
Mm.
then it like, didn't go anywhere. Like there was no inner circle that was kept for life.
Mm.
So if you have one of those friends that are like friends for life, he want to become successful just like you, he has the same mindset as you in terms of success, etc., etc., keep him. Make sure you spend time with him and maybe build a business with him or something like that, right? Because then you have
Mm.
the same mindset, you're going in the same direction. So if you do that, suddenly you've taken out most of the things that people are distracted by,
Mm.
and you have 80 hours left to work.
Mm. Now, one of the most fascinating things which I was thinking about when I was watching all your videos is, like you said once, that the taking out the sleeping time from the entire week's time, the time slot we have, right? Taking out the sleep time, we still have some amount of hours left, right? In which we
112.
can take out 80 hours. Yeah, 112 to be exact.
Yeah.
So if we talk about the 80-hour work week, right, to effectively get there, right, because like talking about is one thing and actually practically doing it is a totally different thing, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, so to because I've tried because I've tried myself for the past 1 or 2 weeks, I'm trying to do that, and it's quite difficult in
Yeah, how are
to
you
put into
doing?
perspective.
How are you
uh,
doing? Tell me about your journey of those 2 weeks.
I'm trying to do each and everything I could, right? So I'm not leaving anything behind. Like I'm working out. If you're talking about working out, I'm working out. I'm even going to the park for evening walk. Then I have classes like the college classes, which definitely I have to attend, and doing some homework. I ordered 2 3 books from Amazon, which I've started to read. One book is Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. I'm loving it. I've ordered both Hindi and English versions. So I'm also improving
Fantastic.
my language. Yeah. So, and I'm doing each and everything I could. And still, I think that one thing which you were talking about in the videos was like in these 112 hours, like if we put separate these 80 hours, there's still 30 hours left. So in these 30 hours, we need to do something so that we prepare for these 80 hours, right? Which was very
Yes.
interesting. So can you
Mm.
please put some light on that? Like how can we, utilize those 30 hours perfectly so that we are, massively into our work and we're not distracted at all.
Right. Fantastic. So there's a book called the 80-20 principle, or the 80-20 rule, and it's basically about like 80% of your result will come from 20% of the things that you do, right? So it's important that you continuously strip away things that are unimportant to continuously get towards the thing that's most important. And I think when I say 80-hour work week, I'm basically saying that you should put everything on automatic that you do those 80 hours. So you should build systems into the way that you work so that it's on automation. And over time, you can replace yourself in those menial tasks that you're doing, because the more money you make, the more you can, you know, delegate the responsibilities to other people that are, not as far on the journey as you are, right? Which means that over time you'll develop more thinking time, and basically eventually you'll get to the point where the only thing that you do is delegate, because you have the money, you have the time freedom, you think, and you delegate. That's it. That's where the ultimate champions get to, if you understand from a success standpoint. When you have like 10,000 employees, and
Mm,
your job is just to think, to read, to understand the charts, to understand what's going on in your business, to understand the numbers, and to talk with those leaders that you have in each department, etc., and make sure that the ship is going the way that it's supposed to go. So you want to get to that. But in the beginning, you only have jobs. You have menial tasks in the beginning, right? So
mm,
I'm just saying that, so in the beginning of your journey, it's gonna be a lot of menial tasks that you're doing on road, systematic all the time. So if you take that away, you just want to make sure that you are capable of doing those menial tasks very well for an extended period of time consistently. So the most important hours of the day is not the 80 hours. That's the
mm,
foundation. That's part of the given. That's part of the, of course, I'm doing 80 hours a week. But
mm.
how can you, of course, the 80 hours a week if you're not spending your time wisely the other 32?
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
so,
we think that we can chill out in the 30 hours, right? And we tend to waste time, but we forget that it's directly affecting our motive, which is to perform well in those 80 hours, isn't it?
exactly. So really the key is like suddenly, if you have something that you love to do, but it's not part of your work, right? Let's say, for example, you love cars, you love driving around in cars or something like that, or you love getting, uh, I don't know, going skating, or you know, whatever it is, right? You have a special hobby that you love doing. In order for
Mm,
you to rejuvenate, to recover from doing those crappy 80 hours, boring, mundane tasks on a daily, continual basis, you need to have time away from it, right? You cannot be doing that all the time. So you have to
mm,
disconnect from it, because then you can think more clearly when you're actually there doing the 80 hours, which means that when those 32 hours actually play becomes an important part of your success
mm,
journey, because you're
mm,
recovering, right?
mm.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
for example, I love watching YouTube, so I need to make
Mm,
sure that I do that as a reward, and I
mm.
educate myself, and very often now I've connected it to my work, so I'm educating myself and having fun at the same time as I'm preparing for my work. That makes sense, right? Or
That's
for
amazing.
the
That's amazing.
exercise,
Mm,
right? You want to do, out of the 32 hours, maybe it's like 6 of those goes to exercise or travel back and forth to the gym or whatever it is. 6 hours of those is exercise. So you got to make sure that, okay, I'm listening to podcasts or to books while I'm exercising, because I'm preparing myself. I'm getting my body ready. I'm getting my mind ready. I'm getting everything ready. My motivation is ready for tackling those 82 hours or the 80 hours, if that makes sense. And making
Definitely.
sure you do your shopping, right? If you live by yourself, no one cooks for you. Make sure that you have you do your errands, your small things here and there. The 2 hours a week, maybe with your family, maybe an hour with your friends that have nothing to do with your business, but you want to keep them long term. Stuff like that basically rejuvenates you, keeps you motivated, keeps you fired up. But avoid the women and avoid the partying, because that's
Yeah.
going to screw your Monday over.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's amazing. And it's like how interesting it is. Like you're talking about it, and it's been an amazing journey throughout listening to you and watching your videos. And it's like been a special opportunity today that I'm getting time to talk to you. It's like thank you for all the time you've given.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate that we could talk a little bit and put some information out there for people who are just started. You mentioned in the beginning that I hate the student word, so I'll give you some final words on that, if you don't mind.
Definitely, so you can go ahead. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
I'm all ears.
So I don't hate the student word. I'm just a very big fan of the master and apprentice model. Okay, so basically having someone teach you the ropes in your specific industry or in your specific thing that you want to accomplish in life. So if you want to become rich, you want to become a huge business owner in the future, and you're 12 years old, 16 years old, 20 years old, whatever it is, how much time are you spending with big business owners? That's what you have to ask yourself. Are you learning from teachers that have no intention of ever becoming big business owners one day, or are you spending time with big business owners? So I'm against formal education in the sense that you're learning from people who haven't done it. They're just theorists, and they have no intention of doing it. They're just there, giving the same lecture every single day, and they're bored outside of their mind doing what they're doing very often. You'll find 1 out of 20 teachers are passionate about what they're teaching. But
that's
19
truth.
out of 20 of them actually are freaking bored outside their brains and are just doing it to get a paycheck. So if we know that, we need to reconsider how much time do we spend focusing on getting good grades that is not important for anyone, especially if you're going to become a big business owner. Just a quick thing on this. I remember I had a job, and there was a 1 month departure thing. Basically, if I quit my job within 1 month, I would have to work 1 extra month. And if I didn't, then I wouldn't get my certificate that I had worked there, basically, to add to my resume for my next job. And I was like, I don't care about that resume, because I never ever want to have a job again in my life ever, right?
Yeah.
I just want to build businesses. So that's just an example for those that are students who want to become big business owners in the future. Who freaking cares about your certificate? What matters is your balance sheet, right? Your financial statement and your balance sheet. That's what Robert Kiyosaki talks about. So think a bit long term. Think about where you want to go, what you want to achieve, and spend your time wisely.
Yeah, that's so well put. It's just amazing how well you have put this into perspective, and it feels like you need to follow and chase the right thing, right? Instead of just doing what everyone else is doing, doesn't mean that it is right. You need to chase the right thing and to follow the right path.